So that's also a very important thing when students, for example, get in. We want them to also have a mindset of, I'm doing this education, I'm doing the learning to learn for myself, not to like get some grades and like get my paper. Looking back, I'm like, maybe I should have like went for less commitments and be able to join more one-off opportunities. My accommodation was right next to a slum, so if I looked outside of my window, I was looking directly into a slum.
Hello everyone, my name is Jacob and this is UT Journeys. Wonderful series when we sit with inspiring students to talk about their lives, motivation, and most importantly, how you can enhance your study journey. In today's episode, we'll talk with Wouter Trieling, third-year Atlas student from Netherlands. During this time, we have covered various topics such as Week of Inspiration, which is starting soon, the European Consortium of Innovating Universities that UT is a part of, jobs that he has done at our university, and finally, his mind-opening experience during exchange in Uganda. Enjoy. Hi, Wouter.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little what is the Week of Inspiration?
Yeah, sure. So the Week of Inspiration is a week full of open and inspiring lectures that are open for the entire UT community, because it's actually the birthday present of the university towards the entire community. So it's in the week leading up to the Dies Natalis, so the birthday celebration. So it's the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of May. And it is lectures for students, non-students, but also people who, like from the region, who would like to join, who are not affiliated with the university. And of course also staff, almost forgot about them.
It is for free, everyone can...
Yeah, it is 100% for free, you don't need to register. And we always try to make sure that, because it's organized by Studium Generale, together with the Honors Association, OCCAM, and the Honors Programs. And Studium Generale actually has weekly, or almost weekly, open lectures, usually on Tuesday evenings. And with the Week of Inspiration, we try to go one step beyond by making sure we have like excellent speakers, but also excellent moderators, which is something I really love about the Week of Inspiration.
Wonderful, and it is all of that is in English. I scroll a little through and saw amazing speakers.
Yeah, indeed. The program. So the program is on the website utwente.nl/WOI for Week of Inspiration. From this year on, with like the new internationalization direction in the Netherlands, we've made some of the talks in Dutch again, but most of them are in English. But you will very clearly see this on the website, which ones are in English and which ones in Dutch. But we made sure that like the most amazing ones, like from the astronaut, the Dutch astronaut who went to space, that one, for example, is in English.
Okay, and which are your favorite ones?
I mean, I would say that one will be super cool. Also the ones about the last day of the dinosaurs. But mainly because I know that moderator. He was one of my teachers during the honors program, Shaping the Future, that I did. So I know that he also knows the speaker, so I will know that one will be amazing, even though the topic doesn't always sounds very exciting to me, but I know it will be cool.
And from where are you getting the speakers? From where are they're only from the university or around the Netherlands?
No. During the Week of Inspiration, we hardly ever have speakers from the university. We usually get speakers from outside of the university, but we get them from all over. Like even some even come from abroad. When already in Europe, they can come. But we also are always open to like visitors' input for the speakers of next year, because we start finding them pretty much immediately after this year's. We always go find for next year's speakers. So if you have any cool ideas, aim as high as you want to, we will see what's possible.
Okay, Elon Musk, or
I mean,
maybe a couple of years.
If he's willing to, get down his usual speaker fee, then yeah, definitely. That would be really interesting. Because that's what I love about the Week of Inspiration. It's attempted to inspire everybody. So it isn't about one discipline. It doesn't always align like with the study programs we have here. Because even those topics which you think like, is it that interesting for me? Usually during the Week of Inspiration, those talks are made in a way that are accessible for everyone, but also in a way that the stories they tell will be inspiring also for yourself. That's what I really noticed the past 2 years.
Are those talks during the day so that people can join during so that it won't overlap with their lectures?
Yeah. Of course. So they are during the lunchtime. So then they start at 1:45, and we finish at 1:30 then. But then there's still half an hour of Q&A. But students who need to go to class can leave. But usually we see quite a big portion of the people staying for the Q&A if the speaker is interesting. And then we also have in the evening, I think 7:30. But you can check on our website.
Yeah. Website will be included into the description. So pack up your lunches, dinners, and 21st, 22nd, 23rd of May.
Yes, on the 24th of May is then the Dies Natalis.
Great. Let's move on to ECIU. What's that?
Yeah, so ECIU. Unfortunately, quite few people here at the university know of it, but it's the European Consortium of Innovative Universities, and we are one of the 14 members. And ECIU, you can kind of think of it as like the next level of like the Erasmus Plus program. So instead of just having mobility to another like university within Europe, they're actually trying to aim a step higher by kind of reforming what European higher education means. So they're trying to go for creating like a European university that's not hosted by a specific university, but it's an actual European university. But before we're there, right now we're really promoting the main thing that's in it for students currently is a lot of mobility. So they offer mainly micro modules, so like challenge-based learning in packages of only a few like study credits, which you can take either extracurricularly, so on top of your normal study program, but some study programs also allow for you to take them as electives within your program. And they are usually online with them, and quite many of them also have a bit of mobility, so where you then travel to the hosting university.
And what universities are included into that?
I wouldn't be able to name all 14 of them, but University of Twente, that's the only one from the Netherlands, and then are from Germany, Denmark, Austria, like all over Europe, Spain a few.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I also saw Lithuania, I think, Italy, but you'll be able to check it at the website.
Yes.
And here the courses, so you can take them as your minor, but are there full ECs that you're getting for the minor, or they're just part of the ECs that you can get?
So currently they are working on that to create like a 15 or 30 EC package. Right now they're really micro modules, so it's ranging from 1 to 3 ECs, I think. But you can mix and match, but I don't think it's currently enough to fill an entire minor block within like any UT program. But so currently it's more so if like for Atlas students it's really convenient, but they make it in such a way that you can easily take it on top of a normal study program full time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one EC sounds really manageable, especially when you can learn about something that you really like. And I saw on their website that they're having all of that kind of challenge-based.
Yeah, challenge-based learning is like the big thing currently in ECIU education. So that means that your education is not based on making simple exercises and then like an exam at the end, but through challenges. So real-world problems, which you work on with the content that you get within the course. So instead of making exercises, You're doing actual problem solving, actually working on bigger challenges. You might not fully solve them, but you will at least work on them with the tools, the skills, and the knowledge that you get in the course, and that way you develop it. And by applying it immediately, you also remember it, not just for an exam, because there are no exams usually, but you actually know how to use it in your work.
Are there real life challenges, or there are also like here we have a project that are kind of imaginary, that this is some kind of the project that you need to go through and it will be graded?
I mean, they usually try to go for real life challenges, but at least if there's like an artificial challenge, but then it's more so of a problem, you like an exercise you're working on, then at least it's connected to a real world challenge. So maybe nothing happens with your solution, but at least you're working towards something that you will see around you and encounter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what kind of the challenges have you participated in?
That's the funny thing. I actually haven't participated in any ECIU course, but they work a bit together also with the honors program. So that they really promote is intercultural communication and competences course. So quite many honors students take it. So from there I've heard about it. And I've also ran into ECIU a few times during my board year at the Honors Association Ockham. So there, for example, we participated with the honors programs of the 4 technical universities of the Netherlands in Create Tomorrow. And there I also ran into ECIU again. And so I've seen them a few times around. And then through a friend, I also got involved there a bit. Helping them out with communication. And currently we are working on making a student team. So for everyone who wants to get involved in whatever way, it is possible to help towards establishing like the European education of the future.
Yeah. And everyone who is currently enrolled in University of Twente can join.
Yes, indeed. It's not connected to any specific curriculum. So any student at the UT who's registered can join. And the website has a good database of all the current educational offerings. And there you can also see the content, but also the kind of skills you will develop and at what level. So you can do like an introduction test where you can get kind of your base levels for the different types of skills and competences that you can develop through their education. And then you can see how much they will grow with specific modules you could take. So you can also then make the choice not only on the content and just believing the description, but you can also see like an estimated what is my learning potential for specific competences.
Sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Like, when exactly did it started?
That's a good question. I actually wouldn't know, but I think it's now a few years that they've been offering the education for students.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I haven't heard about this kind of the stuff, and I would love to join it. To do some nice challenges there. I scrolled like slightly through it, and it was pretty good one. Especially when you can also have this mobility part that you can go to the other universities and also meet people there.
Yeah, that's a big part of like the goal of ECIU. It's also to get people to work better in a European context, which is intercultural. So then you also need that mobility to get those different perspectives, actually feel what it is like in another country, to understand also their perspective, be able to think from other perspectives and to work together with them.
Yes. How people can join the team that you're building right now to join their challenges?
Yeah, you can. I think it's easiest if I give you like a link to which they can go, because I wouldn't know now where they can.
Okay, so that will be...
Look in the description for how to...
Yes, exactly. So that will be in the website, or they need to somehow reach to you?
Yeah, it's probably reaching to a person, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay. We will add everything into the description there as well. moving on to a lot of jobs that you've done.
Certainly.
I saw this. Wouter provided me with this entire beautiful file of all of the activities that he's done during last 3 years, and that looked so beautiful. And yeah, I saw all of the timelines when exactly each job was. Could you work us through it? What kind of the time investment you needed, and how could you get it? Also, regarding that you're the Atlas student, so that maybe for the other Atlas students who will be doing around it.
Yeah, sure. So what I really like about like the student jobs at the UT, or at least back in the UT Flex times, is that most of them are quite small commitments. Like you commit in terms of responsibility, but there's relatively little commitment in sense of time investment. And I think that's something that's very important for doing your student life. You must have enough flexibility to allow for serendipity, to join one of things, because that's something that, looking back, I'm like, maybe I should have like went for less commitments and be able to join more one-off opportunities. We got them a lot in the honors program with like the Our Future Leaders program, but also things like joining open lectures from Student Generale, joining activities, because those usually have a lot of value in ways that you didn't expect beforehand. But yeah, my student jobs, so I started quite early after joining Atlas, with joining like the promotion team of Atlas. So there I helped like with open days, taster days, that kind of stuff. So that's really only occasional, like whenever they are organized, then it's a small investment, but I wasn't coordinator for them or anything. So then like a few hours on that day itself, and before that also not more than a few hours usually.
And you found it through some kind of the email that you got, or you reached to someone?
Yeah, I think with most of these jobs there was either an email or and that already came up like in an earlier episode. Mm-hmm. It is indeed a lot. You get to know about these jobs that bear less responsibility or less risk for like the organized for the university. Those are usually open for everyone. But then for the more important and the bigger jobs, that I usually don't have the time or the insight to really just have an open application. So that I usually then select individuals. So with a lot of these, I was also just partially, asked like, hey, would you be interested in this? So then like in my second half year, so around module 3 or 4, I started doing the admission interviews, because Atlas, there we have a selection procedure. So we also want to have a chat with all the prospective students to see if they would be a good alignment for the program and if the program would be a good alignment for them. So those are always really fun to do, because then you can also after the summer see who of them actually show up for the program, who made it in. So that's always really fun.
And how did it work? You had a particular time that you needed to be somewhere. They were coming, like prospective students were coming, and you needed to ask them proper set of questions, or you needed to prepare for that. And
yes, so we're a very international program. So most of actually I think all of our admission interviews are online, because we have people from all over the world. And we do have a few questions, like broader questions, which we need to answer. So in terms of, we think that the student knows what they're getting themselves into, like know what Atlas is. We think that a student would be like a good fit, that they have like certain mindsets and that kind of stuff. And then we have some guiding questions, but we're really open. So it's always one student and one staff member, one teacher, who do the interview together. And then together you make sure that you have a good image that can give you like a reasoned verdict on all of those questions. So in preparation, it's quite a little time. Sometimes reading through some of the documents that the applicant sent. But I think nowadays, with like stricter privacy rules, we as students no longer get to see them. So we only have some very basic information. and then like the interview is like an hour, and then after that you together with the staff member you write up like the small report, and then with your advice. So then we advise like the admission team to either just admit them with no concerns, admit them with concerns. So we think there is good potential, like they probably are a good fit or they could be a good fit, but we feel like the student does misses this kind of background, or we're not certain that they fully understand what the program is. So then if they then choose to admit that student or that prospective student, then that prospective student also gets to hear our concerns to make like a good, reasoned decision. Or we say, they shouldn't be admitted. Also happens sometimes.
So it is pretty competitive for Atlas, isn't it?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, maybe if we like reach the maximum capacity at some point in the future. Currently, what's really important is their motivation. So we talked slightly before this podcast also about like mindset in education, your frustrations with not of the education kind of being about learning for like exams, passing them, and then forgetting the information again.
Yes,
that's like how it is designed. In Atlas, we really try not to have that. So that's also a very important thing when students, for example, get in. We want them to also have a mindset of, I'm doing this education, I'm doing the learning to learn for myself, not to like get some grades and like get my paper. Because that's really crucial to the way that Atlas also is structured, with like designing your own curriculum and all of that freedom that does come with responsibility. We must make sure people don't abuse that freedom, but use it to like maximize their own potential. So it are those kind of considerations that we look for. Because if their grades might be slightly doubtful, we can say, okay, we admit with like condition that over the summer they work on our mathematics package to get it up to the proper level. Or, okay, we do see that in this extracurricular, so outside of the normal design of the education, we saw that they did work on these things where they showed those competences. Because not for all students, like secondary education is a proper fit. Because that can also be that someone is very smart, is very good actually at physics, for example, but with the normal curriculum, how it is designed, it doesn't work for them. But if they show in some other ways that they still do have a proper level of competences in physics, and they have this proper motivation, then we are still very happy to get them in Atlas.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next job.
Yes. So the next job is the schoolvoorlichtingen. So it is a Dutch-only job where you go to high schools in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium. I've been to one. And there you promote the UT. So you give like presentations to the high school students, saying like, this is what we do at the UT. And then I specifically talk about the multidisciplinary studies at our university. So about advanced technology, creative technology, and Atlas. But that's really occasional. Like there's an online system where they pop up, and then you can say I am or I am not available. So you have a lot of freedom, like if it fits your schedule or not. You usually lose like an entire afternoon and evening when you go to one. And there's not really any preparation much needed. So that's really, if you have time and if there is any, but there's usually only a few a year which I can go to.
And this was also someone proposed it to you, or this kind of the system is completely open to everyone?
I think with this one there was just a general email being sent out, because this was my first year and this is through Central Marketing that we hired. And I didn't know anyone there, so this was just through an email we got to where we could apply for it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah, so again, remember to read your emails.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the next one is actually the Week of Inspiration. So, like I said, the Honors Association, OCCAM, plays a role in organizing it. So during my board year, I was asked to create like a student team to work on like the promotion of it. And I also selected myself to be part of it as like the board responsible. And I really loved it. So, and I think like everyone who knows me, like all of my friends, they also know about the Week of Inspiration, because it's the entire year around that I'm like, have you already heard of this year's Week of Inspiration? It's a running joke by now almost. So I also stick around to again do it this year. So there, what we do is we organize the promotional events, the promotional materials partially, and partially that's done by some other party. The website is, for example, something that I work on. And then also on the days themselves, we're also there to support other logistics. So I got in this job through being board of the Honor Study Association, but the rest of the team I had to pick. So there I just looked, okay, who do I know? And I asked around in my board and others, like, who would be suitable for this? So there's also, through individual contacts, like the others, like got a position. So that's something that's very important if you want to get like more of the fun jobs, the quirky ones, to know people. From what we've heard on this podcast, like Honors is an amazing location to get like such network, but there are more such networks. So get yourself into a network, and that will open up a wide range of possibilities.
Yes, I need to tell also that joining honors programs, like just opened, like I think as many other guests here told that many people like differently regard all of the programs themselves, but like what they're always telling is that the community that is there with all of this beautiful opportunities where you're suddenly getting invitation for like maybe not invitation but the email that you can join different courses. That's so wonderful, and it opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's also what I experienced myself, and I also keep hearing it from others. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and for this one, I also understand that it is pretty much certain period for I'm sorry for the Week of Inspiration. It is a certain period that you are most occupied.
Yeah, indeed. So usually we start around March, when it is in like now towards the end of May. For me, it's slightly earlier with like already putting the talks on the website. And then it's really like how much time you can put in. So that's on average like only like 2 hours a week. But of course, it's more towards the week in which we really go, outdoors and talk to people to promote it. And of course, during the week itself, there's like more work to be done.
And it is super cool with all of the organizational skills that you're getting from that as well. Also reaching to the speakers and...
Yeah, so the reaching to the speakers is actually done to Studium Generale.
Okay.
Because they have the network also on a national level through which they can more easily contact than the speakers. But still the things around it. So for example, I also worked last year on getting the sustainability certificate from Green Hub. That kind of stuff that is cool to do. That also builds network again.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And going to the next job?
Yes, the last one. That's a student for a day mentor. Usually they indeed try to get first or second years for it. But currently we had trouble finding enough people to do the job. So they also reached out to third years. So now I'm also doing student for days. That's also occasional, mainly in the second half of the year. And it is like on the day itself, like they work with you. As a third year, I think it's a bit more time than as a first year, because you must make sure that you go to an Atlas lecture, which I myself currently wouldn't go to because I'm doing other courses outside of Atlas. But I still enjoy doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I need to tell also here that the student for a day, especially for the first years, is super opening, also like door opening for people. I mean, I couldn't join it myself. Was applying for that, but all over, I think this amazing opportunity to also see how the structure of like jobs at the UT are working. Yeah, and meet some new first years, like potential first years.
Yeah, that's indeed always fun. I already had that with like the admission interviews, doing that, like meeting some of the potential of new first years. That's always a fun thing to do.
Yes, yes. And moving on to your exchange experience for the past time.
Yeah, so last half year in the Atlas program in semester 5, so that would be module 9 and 10. They really support you and push you to go abroad if you want. And, you know, trailblazing being one of the core values of the Atlas program and also one of my core values, I decided not to go to somewhere in Europe or one of the other universities which we already have a stronger relationship, but I decided that I wanted to go to Uganda, which was quite an experience, but it was so eye-opening to experience the completely different perspective on life. That's also what I seeked, and you really notice that both in the culture is completely different, but also the way of life, because there's currently like the world can be like divided up in different kind of categories, and we here really live in luxury. Like everything you need, you always have it. There's no power outages, there's no water outages. The only thing we have is bad weather, and for the rest, like you have all of the convenience you could ever like desire, pretty much. In Uganda, that's completely opposite. There's a lot of poverty there, so I also slept like my accommodation was right next to a slum. So if I looked outside of my window, I was looking directly into a slum, which living there for a short period of time was fascinating, because that allowed me to get like an unfiltered insight in how they live. So that was really eye-opening.
And what did you see?
What we see here in the Netherlands, when we see things about slums, it's usually like on TV, like commercials from like charities. And of course, I need money. So there they show images of how horrible life is in slums, how much need there is for certain things, desperation and sadness and poor hygiene. Being there, I saw a normal life. Yes, you can see like certain things with sanitation and stuff. It is way worse than here. Like pretty much, I don't think that any of the food I ate in Uganda would be legal to sell here in the Netherlands. Probably in the Netherlands, I wouldn't even eat it. Like, but yeah, they were also laughing. They were also like fighting in the families. They were living a normal life, and that was something that was quite shocking to me. That the life I saw in the slums and experienced there, because I also got my food like at the edge of the slum. That felt super normal. It felt like that is life. But then at the same time, university there is way more exclusive. Like it's a special thing. So also the people who you meet there, especially in the master's programs, I did diplomacy there for one of the courses. So there I met actual diplomats who are currently working as diplomats. So one Saturday afternoon, I got invited to like a wedding. So then I woke up. I got like a call around noon while looking onto the slum of, hey, do you want to go to like this wedding? Meet me here at like this member of parliament's apartment. So I went there, and then like an hour later, I ended up at this super luxurious wedding. Like I probably will never go to such a luxurious wedding again in my life. With like, members of parliament, ministers, bishop, like highly ranked military personnel and stuff. And the vibe I had there, like seeing their lives also, so that the more rich perspective, like the elite of the country, that also felt super normal. That felt like for them, that is their life, like all they know pretty much in their current life. And having on the same day, like both contrasts of like super poor and super like, luxury, and both feeling equally normal, that was eye-opening. Because here we also don't realize the kind of life that we're living, like how everything is in abundance. And the luxury we have here, also if you look at the scale of human history. And we are not appreciative of that enough, I would say. And we're also not willing enough to make sacrifices in that for the good of others, being it currently or in the future. We have trouble, saying, ooh, I'm no longer allowed to take this like airplane to that place, or ooh, I must eat like meat slightly less in the week. Like people are pushing for that. Hey, that's my freedom. But that's not normal. Like it hasn't been normal for that long here. And in most of the world, that's not normal at all. I heard plenty of stories in class. I did also some music and dance there. So there we also learned about the culture around that. There I also heard a lot of stories, both from the teacher and from some others, about buying a chicken at the market was like a big thing. That's like half of your month's income for some people. Yeah, that's it's really strange to experience both extremes.
Wow. That's a hell of an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it most certainly was.
Yeah, I also had all of this thoughts many times we as humans have this like constant level of pain, that wherever you are, the change itself generates more happiness or less happiness, but usually you're always getting to this mid-level. And that's super interesting how like we can be miserable living in such privileges here around Europe, whereas people can be so happy living in like real poverty somewhere, for example, in Africa.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing, like your baseline kind of shifts. But I would say that from my experience, it's different kinds of pains, if we want to call them as such. Because in Uganda, life did feel a bit more natural, because you live way more outside. The buildings, like hardly any of the buildings I've been in, like maybe like the embassy and like the members of parliament house, that those were insulated. For the rest, all of the buildings have open air connection to the outdoors. Also, open sound connection, unfortunately. So you live way more outside, way more in touch with the natural environment. And that's something that is I feel like is one of the pains that we experience here. Here, that's way less the case. Like the life we've built here around ourselves, it is so far removed from what humans have been developing to do for such a long period of time. We're so individualistic here that creates, I feel like, a lot of pains. It kind of disconnects us. Yeah.
Do you think it is because of, for example, the high pace of the life that we are having here? Do people there has slower?
That's definitely the case. I like to think that doesn't play a role, because I must say that was a huge frustration I had there. I mean, I'm still waiting for my grades to return from Uganda. And then they say, yeah, we'll have it by the end of the week. 2 weeks later now, haven't heard anything back. Like, that's definitely a frustration I had. There's something that was difficult to deal with. Um, I mean, sometimes we can slow down here, but one huge frustration, because I was really quite well prepared also for the culture of Uganda. So I felt like I had quite little culture shock. Like I experienced a lot of things that like my perspective on life also changed. But I didn't really at any point really experience that shock. When I came back to the Netherlands, I was not prepared for the reverse culture shock. And one of the main things that I noticed here in the Netherlands that still frustrates me about the culture is how we worry about everything. We're bothered with everything. Like stuff doesn't matter nearly as much as we'd like to believe here. Like there's no reason to get judged like how someone is walking on the street. There's no reason to get yourself like upset with things that don't matter. Like so much of the things we worry about here don't matter to you. There's no reason for them to matter. So, and that creates such stress because that means you're constantly on. Because you also notice it from others. So like coming here, I really try to resist that. But even just at my parents' place, that was impossible. Because you know that whatever you do, others will like have judgments of it. They maybe not act on it, but you can still notice that they automatically create judgments. So it always also creates pressure for everyone, because you know that whatever you do, it will have a social effect. But in Uganda, it might also be because I was only there for 4 months. So I maybe was less integrated. Could be part of it. But there I felt like people didn't bother that much. Like if they hadn't seen me for a few days and then I come back in weird clothing, like they wouldn't mind. They are like, oh, happy to see you again. Like, have you been lost? So that's their way of asking, like, I haven't seen you in the past days. But it's non-judgmental. Here, if people would say that, even though they're sincere, you know there is a bit of judgmental part in there. Like, I haven't seen you in the past days. Why haven't I heard anything from you? In Uganda, that's not the case. They're just happy to see you without any judgment connected to it. Because, yeah, that doesn't benefit anyone. So that's part of the chillness of Uganda that I wish we had a bit more here.
I think then we would need to also do this cultural switch into be less individualistic in this sense. Do you think it is also playing a role there?
Yeah, I mean, we can also just simply see it in the numbers. There are enough reports published year on how mental health situation in the Netherlands, especially under students, is really quite bad. And a lot of that has to do with not having proper social support, not a proper community. And that's also something I noticed like during primary and high school. And I think that a lot of the students who are neurodivergent have noticed that before university life at least, that it can be very difficult to find people who really understand you and with who you can feel that you can be fully yourself and not have to restrict certain parts that are integral to you. And then coming to university, for me it was really with both Atlas, but then especially honors. I've also heard that for a lot of other people, why the honors community for so many people is such an amazing place is because they weren't accepted, like their intellectual quirkiness and busyness usually isn't societally accepted. In the honors community it is, and it's just amazing that there you can, be super enthusiastic and intellectual about things that don't matter. You don't care about them, but just being able, to have your mind run freely, supported by others, even if they don't care about what you're saying, you still notice that they give this space and they're happy that you can share that stuff. And that's something I really do love about specifically this university, that there are enough communities for, I think, most people, if not all, to find a place where they, can can be themselves.
I completely agree. I had the same actually with honors, that most of like-minded people and the most of strongest connection I had there. And moving on within the Uganda, how was the process of application to actually get there? Going back from like a lot of thoughts, I think, to the word.
Yeah, the process of application, like to go there, you mean? Or?
Yes. As a
Yeah. So it started with thinking of where do I want to go. I knew I wanted to really have this different way of life. And if you want to experience that, you pretty much have to go outside of Europe if you really want to have that properly. I did not want like the performance drivenness of like Asia mainly, because I've been quite busy. So I wanted to also have a more chill culture to experience like that opposite. So then I pretty quickly arrived on like Africa. I'm not really amazing with learning new languages, so I did really want a place where I could, survive with English. And then we, at this university, just through talking with several people, we found a joint research project, which we have with a few universities in Uganda. And within that project, there was still the possibility to extend it with student mobility. So through that, we managed to draft have the contract signed that I could go to Makerere University in Uganda as an exchange student. We had it signed a month or a few weeks before I actually had to go there. So it was all last minute, but luckily it worked out. But that's really also because of the amazing support of our exchange coordinator that we have in Atlas. In most programs, this probably wouldn't have been possible, because this wasn't only trailblazing for me, but also from the Atlas program. They are luckily also supportive in trying out these new things and supporting their students in, if they really want to do try out these new things.
Mm-hmm. And based on the fact that you had kind of short notice to actually prepare for everything there, how was your process of application, process of preparation in this sense? So any kind of the things that you needed to check out, like for example vaccines or
it is very messy going to Uganda. So both from their own university, there's some preparation you need to do, with documents you need to send. It's all a mess, especially when we arrived. It was all a mess. They aren't prepared for receiving exchange students, even though yearly they receive a handful of exchange students. There's only a handful, and they're not prepared for it. So there was also on the ground a lot of proactiveness needed to get stuff arranged, that I could actually do courses. Because, for example, all of the courses which I selected beforehand with their online course catalog, none of them were being taught when I arrived. With some of the ones which I wanted to do most, the study program didn't exist anymore. So it was on the ground that we had to spend the first weeks just keep walking from college to department, just on campus in person to try and find out which courses are currently being taught. And even at the official start of the semester, some of the colleges didn't yet know. So that was really such chaos in the first weeks, just walking around, trying to get this information, trying to find these courses which you could then join. Yeah. But in terms of preparation, it was already clear for a bit longer, for a few months, that we would be going there. That was already quite certain, but just paperwork and official confirmations that was missing. So we could already start with thinking about how I wanted to contribute to the project. Within Atlas we have this course of intercultural communication, in which you also do like a cultural study, like preparation for the country where you're going to study for your semester abroad. So that really helped already. And luckily, my at the time program director, she had family living also in the capital there, close to the university. So that also really helped to make sure that they actually got back to us. One time we just sent her to the university to knock on the door, say like, hey, you need to reply. So that was, again, those personal contacts made sure that there was actually some stuff arranged. But a lot of it was also just on the ground, or it was just fingers crossed.
Yeah, sounds like amazing experience. I don't know, it is seeing such different thing to hear when you have everything so structured. And even like with that, we as a student can be frustrated because like teachers didn't send the email earlier or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. But I must say, I would still be frustrated if a teacher here doesn't send stuff in time. And maybe even more so because I've experienced the effects of that organizational disregard, what it brings about if you take it to a more extreme level. So, and also in the culture we have here, that doesn't work. But I would definitely advise any student who has the opportunity to really go on a semester abroad and take not a place you're comfortable with, like in terms of, I already vibe with that. Try to find something that really broadens your horizon, that gives you a different perspective on life. I mean, to most students, I wouldn't advise to go to Uganda because it is really intense. It helps being an Atlas student, already having a lot of experience with arranging your own education, making your own curricular choices, but also functioning in a bit of chaos and getting everything arranged. You get those skills in Atlas. You really need to have that training beforehand before going to a country like Uganda, I would say. But there are plenty of other countries where you can go, where you can still really have this different perspective. So yeah, I would definitely advise that.
So it was worth it?
100%, yes.
And besides that advice that you just gave regarding the exchanges, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to the first or second year students here?
I think that a mistake that's often made is also in these kind of advices is the focus on time management and commitments. Because what I would really advise is to not be protective of your time, but be mindful and protective of your energy. Because that's in the end what really matters. If you have enough energy to do the things that you do, if they give you enough energy, so that you can actually get the stuff out of what you're doing that you want. If you focus on time, you will probably restrict yourself in the opportunities that you use. While, of course, you can't spend more than 24 hours per day. I mean, I've tried that. It actually worked out quite well, but that's unfortunately not possible. But what I notice, even when I do a lot of things that give me a lot of energy, it is not the time investment that gets you close to a burnout. It is the amount of energy that it takes and the lack of rest. Because even if you feel energized throughout the day with the things that you do, I notice that when I then take a break, only then do I really feel what the state of my body and mind is. Only then do you feel, okay, I feel energized, but if I listen to my body, there is not enough rest, there's not enough energy storage in there, which you need to prevent a burnout. So that's also how I kind of feel when I'm approaching a burnout. So take those breaks and protect your energy, not your time. And that's, for example, also something really with commitments. Definitely go for some commitments. It's amazing doing a board year. It's amazing doing honors. But try to not fill up your entire schedule with commitments. And not so much for time, but because those are all things you need to put energy into because you committed yourselves to it. But there are also so many amazing one-off opportunities. Both within those commitments, if you have slightly more energy left, you can put it into, doing what you're doing to a higher degree, to do those extra things within your commitments. But also then you have more energy with fewer commitments. You have more time and energy to make use of like the open lectures from Student Generade, of the activities of your study association, of workshops from business days. And those things are usually really cool also.
Thank you, Wouter.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a true honor.
Amazing talk. Thank you.
Thank you.